Hello again, Howard Baxton here. Um, in this video, we're going to do some more Animesh. Okay, and that's our instruction card number 16, and I've got it open here. There's a couple of things we're going to cover here. New in V4 is the ability to control a full nPose featured prop. In other words, it's totally loaded with nPose and everything you can do with any other pad or furniture you can do with the prop. Okay, and in instruction card 15, we did build Stan Lee, this finished one right here, and we added some animations to run from the menu, and we're going to use that version to start with here. Okay, so with that, let's get started. We have an nPose blank loaded. In other words, it's got the basics for nPose in its contents. It's got all the scripts and it's got the utility cards and the .NET on and on. Okay, so first thing we want to do is load that blank pad from above. So let me get this out of the way a little bit, and I'm just going to click and drag and drop that out here. Okay, now that I've got that, the second one is we're going to add the finished Stan Lee we made from instructions for class 15 into the pad. And here's Stan Lee. You can take him into your inventory, do all that neat stuff. I want to begin with, let's just res Stan out and refresh your memory a little bit here. Let's get this thing over here. In our instruction card 15, we did a few things to look at what we're actually doing here. We added the follow card off, we added the follow card on, the greet me, and the stories note card. And I think we actually even did the couples. So with all that said, just to refresh your memory, that's what we did. And if we look in the init card, we've got all of the plugin commands for the Animesh plugin, which is here in Stan. So that's all good and cool. So let's go look at the pad now. What do we have in this pad? Let's look in the init card. Okay, we're set up to have only one sitter. In other words, if you res the gestures, you'll only get one, and it would be for seat 1. Our default card is set : default. We have that here. And inside that default card, we have one exam line, and it is running the meditation pose. Okay, so with all of that said, what do we have here? We have the sat not sat plugin. We have the prop plugin, so we can res a prop. And the rest is just the basic nPose scripts. Okay, so we're all good here. And Stan, I've got Stan in my inventory already, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete him. And the first step was to load Stan Lee, finished, into our pad. And there he is. Okay, so we have him loaded in there. So let's carry on here. Next step is in your inventory, make a note card and name it set : Stan : res Stan. So let me go ahead and copy this. We'll go up here in our note cards, or our folder, and add a new note card. Paste that name in there. And in the contents of this note card, add the following lines. We have a prop line, which is going to res Stan Lee to finished at location 1 meter X, 1 meter Y, and 1 meter in the Z. And no rotations, no prop number, so it defaults to 0. And we're going to turn on the quiet flag for resing this prop. That'll keep Stan. We're going to have Stan moving around a little bit probably, and so we're using quiet so that it doesn't spam us with new positions that Stan has moved to, or we've moved him to, whichever, along the way. And then we have a prop do command. We're going to broadcast it out to all prop names and all prop groups. Since we're only going to have Stan Lee finished resed, he's the only one that's going to hear it. So when we add these and then save and close and add it to the card, let's copy these and paste it into this card. Paste, save and close, and then add it to the pad. So at this point, we should be able to click for menu, and we have a Stan submenu, and we have a res Stan button. So if we click that, we should be resing Stan. And there he is. Now that doesn't deter Stan from having his own menu. We could click Stan and get the Stan menu. But in this case, we're not going to use that menu to speak of. We're going to do it all from the pad. Okay, so in step 2, it says in your inventory, make a note card and name it set Stan prop stories. Okay, I just kind of added prop in there to the button name to help us realize that this card is going to make the prop do something. And that's the whole entire purpose of this exercise, is to show you that we can control props and we can actually issue commands from our pad I don't know what I did. Okay, with a prop do, and again we're going to broadcast this out to everybody that listens, and we're going to tell it to do card set stories. Set stories is one of the cards that we made in Stan in the last instruction card. Wow. Why do we keep doing that? I want to just copy this. Okay. And then we'll go in here and paste it in and save and close and add it to the pad. Okay, now we should be able to touch for the menu. Go to Stan, and we have prop stories in our menu. We're going to send this command out to Stan, and Stan's full-blown features is going to listen to and actually run that card. So here you go. Stan is doing the stories. If you remember what we did last week, everything's cool. Okay, so what's next? Step 3. In your inventory, create a note card and name it set Stan prop follow. So let's copy that, create a note card, and paste the name in. Okay. In the contents of the note card, add the following line, which is we're going to send a command out to the prop and broadcast it to everybody. And we're going to do card set follow on and we had to include the permissions because that's part of the name of that note card that it's going to run. So let's copy that, add it to Stan, again save and close as per our instructions, and then add it to the pad. And there's our follow card in the pad. Okay, with that said, if we go up a notch and then go back to Stan, we'll refresh what was there. And you see we now have a prop follow command. And when we click that, Stan actually responds and comes up in the ready position to follow. So he's following me, which is the note card user. So we do see that Stan follows, and he's very obedient at it. Okay, so we're all good there. Let's get back in here and see what it's our next step. In our inventory, make a note card and name it set colon Stan to get it into our submenu colon prop not follow. Okay, so with this guy, we're going to be able to stop Stan from following us. So paste in the name, hit the enter, add the following line. In Stan, there is a note card called set colon follow off with the not seated permissions. And that's the one we want the prop to run. So let's paste that line in, save it, and close it per our instructions, and then add that to the pad. And here's our not follow. Okay, so Stan is still in his follow mode, and he's following everywhere I go. Okay, so let's refresh our menu up here. And we see the not follow button right there. So if we click that not follow button, Stan will stop following me. Yeah, and he does. Very cool. Okay, let's get back into that. We'll edit the pad again and go to the next step. And step 5 says, in your inventory, make a note card and name it set, oops, I didn't get quite that, set colon Stan colon die. Let's copy that line and create our new note card, paste in the name, and in the contents, add the following line. We're going to send a prop to out to all of our props, no matter what the name is, and no matter what the prop group is, and give the command to die. So let's copy that and put it in here and paste it, save it, and close it, and add it to the pad. There we go. And now you see that card is in here. I guess we should test it. Up arrow, go back into Stan to refresh, and now we have a new button called die. If we click the die, Stan dies. So now we can res Stan, and we can remove Stan, just like that. So this kind of completes that exercise of controlling the prop from the resers menu. Okay, so this is basically the parent, the nPose bank loaded, and we're actually controlling Stan. Let's go up here and take a look at this so you can actually see it again. Now, if we click Stand for the menu, we have Stanley finished. So he actually has a menu too that we could use. Okay, that's into that one. Let's make this guy die. Stan die. And we'll move on. And this is just a, in conclusion, blah, blah, blah. We made a pad, which is a reser, and we had the reser send out commands to the prop and carry them out from there. All said and done, let's go on to the next one here. What are we doing here? What if you don't need all that fancy stuff above and just want to use Animesh as a prop, which you can move and animate to interact with sitters of the pad. Now, bear in mind, since we are resing a prop and Stan is the prop, is an Animesh, we have a point of reference which we can use to move Stan about in different places with reference to the pad. Okay, so that's what this is all about. Now, it says, so let's just go on with the steps here. Located in our original blank version of Stan Lee, the empty version, from your inventory and res it. So we've got Stan Lee and I've provided him here. Now, before we go on, let's just say that we could use this finished version of Stan Lee and do all of the things we're doing here. That's possible to do, and it's just as easy as when you res Stan, you res the finished version that we had above. That's easy. I wanted to go through this little exercise here just to show you that you don't need all of that extra stuff, all that fancy stuff, if you just want to use an Animesh as a prop. So let's go ahead and res Stan Lee as it says here in that instruction line. We'll put Stan Lee out there. And it says make sure you check the animated mesh checkbox in Edit Features tab or Stan will not be able to animate. So if we go to the Features tab, we did this already once, so we're going to redo it again for Stan Lee. Okay, and the next thing it says to do is add the following scripts and animations to the contents of Stan Lee. Now, I've got these animations in here, which is here, and we needed the listen forward, all three of the listens, and the storyteller needed to go into the contents of Stan. Let's put those in there. And we needed the prop plugin, and we needed the Animesh plugin. So where have I got those? I've got the Animesh plugin right here. Let's add that. And I know I've got the prop plugin here in my contents. And there it is. And we'll go ahead and stick this in there. Okay. Take Stan back to inventory and add Stan to the contents of the pad. Okay. So let's just go ahead and take Stan to the contents, and he's going to be in the objects folder. There he is. Let's just add Stan Lee in there. So now we have Stan Lee finished, and we have Stan Lee unfinished. Well, yeah, he's finished, but there we go. We've got both of them in there now. So let's continue on. Step 2, in the pad, edit the init card and add the following lines. Okay, we need these lines in order to issue our commands down below, like the exanim and all that. So let's copy these, open our init card, paste them in. I want to get rid of that because that's not even accurate. It's a carryover from one of the older versions. It just didn't get removed. Okay, we'll save that and close it. So that's all set up and ready to go. Now in step 2, let's create a note card in your inventory and name it sequence 1. Well, that's interesting. No set. Copy. New note card. Paste it in there. We're done. What's this all about? Add the following lines inside. We've got an exanim line for the sitter, and he's going to listen left, and he's going to this location. Now we have a prop due sent out to all props resed and all groups resed. So it's just a broadcast again. And this time we're going to use the Animesh command. This is a little different method of working. I mean, we've got 2 already that we put in here. We've got the override, which we already used and know how to deal with that. And we've got mesh animate, which we know how to use. Animesh is kind of a standalone copy of the exanim line. Okay, so with that we need the prop name we're going to animate, and the body, and then which is the body part or the part of the Animesh we want to animate, and we have the storyteller animation we're going to run, which we did add inside of Stanley, so we're good. And like I said, we have a point of reference, which is the reser. So we can use a position and we can use a rotation as well. Okay, so this is going to essentially do this type of thing, which we use on avatars, to use on our Animesh as well. Okay, following that, we have an on unsit command. And when sitter number 1 unsits, we have a timer remove command, and we're going to remove T9. Now, these probably are out of order and could be set up in the opposite order. It doesn't really matter. They're going to work as they should anyway within the script. We also have an on sit command for sitter number 1. When sitter number 1 assumes this pose, we also have a timer called T9, which is the one we're going to remove up there when they unsit. It's going to run for 10 seconds. And after this thing times out, nPose is going to do a do card, and it's going to run sequence number 2, which we haven't built yet. So let's go ahead and copy these and put them in here into sequence 1. Paste them in, save and close, and add it to the pad. Now, let's move on to step 3 here, I guess. That is to create a new note card in your inventory and name it set sequence 2. Let's go ahead and copy that. New note card, paste that in there. And in the contents, something similar, only um, the Animesh is going to listen right this time instead of being the storyteller. Exam line for the sitter, the avatar, is going to be the storyteller. And we've got positions and rotations. And we've got a new timer name to remove when the sitter in seat 1 leaves. And the onset with a timer to run, and after 10 seconds, we're going to do card sequence 3. Okay, and we'll paste those in here and save, close, and add that in there. Okay, so we know that we won't see sequence 1 or seq 1 and seq 2 in our menu. We can touch it. It's not there. We can look in here. It's not there. So essentially, we can still run that note card by this do card command. We can tell nPose to run that card, and rather than have the menu tell nPose to do that card. So basically, that's what we're doing. When this card runs and it times out after 10 seconds, it's going to tell nPose to run this card. And when that one runs and times out, it's going to be telling it to run sequence 3. Okay, so essentially that's what we're doing here. And in step 4, we'll create this sequence 3, copy that, add a new note card, paste in the name, and in the contents, Stan Lee, the Animesh, is going to be the storyteller again, and nPose is going to be listening forward. And we have a new timer, which is name time T11, and it's also 10 seconds. And when it times out after doing this one, it's going to go back to sequence 1. So let's copy all of that, add it to this note card, and save and close, and then add the card to the pad. Okay, I got it in there. So we've got sequence 1, sequence 2, and sequence 3. Step 5, we need to create one more note card in our inventory, and we're going to name it set colon sequence colon run sequence. Let's copy that, create a new note card, paste that in there. Now this one is going to show up in the menu, so we'll be in good shape. And in this one, the sitter is the storyteller. We have the command when the timer runs out, T12 times out, we do card sequence 1. And on unsit, sorry, we're going to remove that timer. And down below, we've got the prop commands. This card is actually going to res Stanley and res him at that, and it's going to, for whatever reason, we put a different prop group number in there, and he's quiet because he's going to move around. Now, actually, let's think about this. If we were to use prop group 0 like we did up here, and this guy, every time nPose sees an exam line in a new card, it's going prop group 0 props die. And this one is an explicit version, so this one will stay res until such time as we actually tell it to die. Okay, and then we've got the Animesh line in here where the Animesh is going to be listening right. He will listen right. So with all that said, let's just go ahead and put him in here. Let's copy all of that, paste them in, save and close, and add it to the pad. So now we've got that in there. Now what do we have for step 6? Step 6, check to verify, check to be very certain that the sat-not-sat plugin is in the pad. If it's not in there, please add it, as we need to plug in to support timers and also the on-sit and on-unsit. So all of that stuff is in the sat-not-sat plugin. And yes, I do have it in here, so no worries. We'll ignore that line. Okay, and that looks like it's about at the end of our note card. Try things out and see how it works. So I should be able to sit. We're in the default pose. And I can click for the menu. I can go to sequence. I can go ahead and run the sequence. And where's Stan? There he is. Stan listening right. And my avatar is, of course, storyteller. Now we switch roles here. Stan is now the storyteller, and I'm listening left to look at him. Now I'm the storyteller, but I'm in seat 4, and Stan is in seat 3, and he's listening right again. Boom, there you go. Now Stan didn't move, but he's the storyteller in seat 3, and I'm listening forward, looking right at him. And then we go back to sequence 1. Okay, questions on all that works? Now we've got an issue. How do we stop Stan and stop the sequence? Well, back here in this guy, we did put up a die, and that will kill Stan, but it will not stop the sequence. Okay, and you'll see the sequence is still going to run. There's several ways we can go about doing all of this, but I think I'm going to leave that for the homework and let you guys kind of mull that over and see what you can come up with, and we'll discuss it at the other end. Okay, that's all I have for Animesh, so thank you all, and we'll see you next time.